I'm here at NAMM with a very familiar face, Eric Persing from Spectrasonics. They spent all this time making Omnisphere so good that you never need to buy another hardware synth, but now he's made it talk to the damn things.
Yes, indeed.
What's the story?
So we have this thing called hardware synth integration, and the idea is that you can bridge the software and hardware experience, but instead of having to buy a custom-made or like a purpose-built piece of hardware, we're making Omnisphere work with all different kinds of hardware synths. So you can control the parameters of Omnisphere right from the hardware synth. And in this new version 2.6, we're now supporting over 60 hardware synths. So it is lots of different models and stuff for different kinds of applications. And then in each one of the hardware profiles, we also take time to model the character of that synth. So it has each of the synths, has the character of the oscillators, and it's not an emulation per se, but it's more of capturing the essence of it. And so if you have hardware, you can just connect it to Omnisphere and it works.
Okay, so the controls do pretty much what they say on the hardware.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. That's the whole idea.
Yeah, so I like the idea. And I believe you've also been working behind the scenes to make your arpeggiators even more clever.
That's right, yes. 2.6 has a whole new update for the arpeggiator. Some really cool stuff. We have step modifiers, so you can do chord voicings on different steps. And it's the first arpeggiator that I know of that has inversions. And so you can do some really musical and interesting things. And then you can capture all of that, everything you do in the new arpeggiator as a MIDI file and just drag it to your host. And it'll show up as MIDI data that you can edit further or trigger other synths.
That sounds great. Well, let's take a look at this in action.
Sure, yeah. So one of the first things that we've got is with 2.6, we're going all the way back to the first MIDI instrument, which is the Juno 106 from 1983. And as you can see, it's very easy to call it up. You just simply select the hardware synth you want in the top menu, and that's it. And then everything just works. And you can see when I change the oscillator waveforms, it's changing. The LFOs, mod matrix. You can see the envelope shapes changing. It'll even instantiate the effects, turn the chorus on and off. And one of the things that's really fun is that just for the Juno, you can actually save the Omnisphere patch in the Juno.
Okay.
And then when you call up, so it's pretty crazy how how it works. But yeah, it's very, very simple. And then you get a different result with whatever hardware synth you have, and it has more of that kind of experience.
Yeah. Is the communication entirely one way, or can
it's one way because it's MIDI, so it's just it's a one-way communication.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah, we might not be able to find the engineers that made this to make it work two-way, but we can at least translate anything that's keyboard is transmitting. We can figure out how to turn it into Omnisphere parameters, and it's not just simple MIDI learn. There's some complex things going on, like with. For instance, if I change the resonance, you can see the gain is changing. So it scales the control so that they respond right for that particular synth. Okay.
So have you taken a lot of the original waveforms from these synths and put them into Omnisphere?
Exactly, yeah. So we have models of all the Juno waveforms, and that's true of all the models. So in fact, we're even going back as far as the D50 now. Yeah. So we can head over there.
Yeah, let's do that. So here we are at the D50, which is, it must bring back memories.
Indeed. I got to work on the original. I was at Roland at the time, and I did, a lot of the factory sounds and got to be involved in its inception. And so it's really fun now to integrate the work I did back then into Omnisphere. Okay, so the PG-1000 is the programmer for the D50. That's what I used to make the original sounds in the D50. And you can still get these on eBay. And basically what you can do is now you can control Omnisphere, and you can see that the parameters are changing and the pages are changing. And with each supported hardware synth, we also add things to Omnisphere. So we added the bias, all these bias controls in the D50. So we added that into Omnisphere just to support the D50, but you can also use it for your own sounds too. And one of the neat things then is I can change the waveforms. So we have the D50 saw and pulse. You can do that. But you can also change the PCM waveforms, which in Omnisphere is called sound sources. So at the bottom of the fader, you have all of my original D50 patches as sound sources. So you can use those as starting points to create new sounds. And then as you go up on the list, then it starts to turn into Omnisphere sound sources. So it's really cool. So you have full control over all 4 layers from the PG-1000, and then you have all of the classic D50 sounds. You know, that the whole D50 vibe. But you can take it further. You can do things like so it's great to have all of that in Omnisphere now, and you don't have to own a D50 or a PG-1000 to use those sounds. That's the neat thing is that you don't have to use any of these synths to get the sounds that come in the hardware library. But there's a huge library of hardware patches that we're expanding. So this update comes with all those D50 sound sources, and then lots of new D50 sounds, and tons of stuff for other synths too. All right, so we have quite a big update for the Arpeggiator in 2.6 as well. It's the most major update we've done since Omnisphere 1, actually, because now what we can do is on each step of the Arpeggiator, you can do transposition, you can slide from note to note, and you can also do chords. You can have a chord just on one step, and you can have different chord voicings. You can also subdivide the step into triplets or sixteenths, and so there's a lot of flexibility. And especially with the chord stuff, it's really fun because having chord inversions and voicings is a lot more musical than just jumping octaves with chords. So here's an example of that, and you can see it. And it'll also play like just one time like that if you want. It'll loop, of course. But you can also go forward and backward. So you've got... So that's really fun. And then let's combine some of these new features together. So you can, because you can have sliding notes, so you can have like a 303 style, and then you can also subdivide. So we'll do like and then so that's subdividing those guys. And yeah, so it's really powerful, all the different things you can do. And one of the most exciting things you can do is being able to control, to capture what you do as MIDI. So what I'll do is I'll capture 2 bars here, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so that's captured that now, and then I can just drag that as a MIDI file to the host. So then you can edit all that as information. All the slides come up as bends, and so it's great fun. Yeah, all kinds of neat things you can do with it, and that's some of the new things you can do with the Arpeggiator.
Excellent. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, my pleasure. So we got that in there.
Yeah, that sounds a huge update. So
it is definitely huge.
So how long do we have to wait?
So it'll be out in March, and it's a free update. Okay. So for everybody who has Omnisphere 2.
That's excellent. I look forward to trying that. Thanks so much, Eric.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, take care.